We've been talking about this for the entire break. Kasie Hunt, you wanted to chime in. Take it away.
I was just listening to what, to Donnie's initial question about, how do we figure out, how do we sort through the degrees of this? And I think the answer to that question is that the most important thing to remember is that this is a new context in which to consider this range of acts. And the difference, as Mika said earlier, is that women now feel empowered to speak up. I mean, we never really talked about the Monica Lewinsky scandal at the time in the context of workplace power dynamics and the fact that, what do you do to a certain extent when your extraordinarily powerful boss makes a suggestion that perhaps you should enjoy each other's time after hours? Do you fear retribution? I mean, it's a very complicated dynamic, and that's one that we're now considering, I think, more widely. I also think that the reality is, and I don't want to compare this to the Supreme Court analogy of, it's pornography, you know it when you see it. But I think the reality is we've all endured what you guys were describing, pats or, touching that seems questionable. I think there's also a very clear difference between, making a mistake and there existing and being a pattern of harassment. I mean, what Leanne described with Al Franken, we're focused on the photo, we're focused on the one incident, but keep in mind, she describes this as a 2-week tour. So this incident occurs, she feels, violated, and then she's sitting next to him day after day after day where she feels continually harassed by him, and then they end the trip with him taking this photograph. That's a pattern of harassment, and I think it clearly scarred her. And I think for a lot of us, we have a lot of instances of things we've written off, we've ignored, we've laughed off. There are also times where you know the difference, and you know that, hey, I'm being harassed over a period of time. And I think those are the kind of Me Too stories that we're hearing. And also, Donnie, I think, and we'll see where this Franken story evolves, if it evolves, because the reality is, for men who have a repeated pattern and, potentially, and I mean, look at Harvey Weinstein. Now you look at the pictures of those graphics of how many women endured this. I mean, that should matter to us, too. People make mistakes. That happens. And forgiveness is an important, I think, quality. But serial predation is something that I think, the silence has allowed that to go on. And that seems to be fundamentally what's changing here.
Donnie.
Yeah, the net of all of this and is that we're going through a sea change as a culture and who we are and how we behave. And men entering the workplace are going to be thinking different. Men who have spent their lives in the workplace are reflecting. The challenge going forward in the workplace, ironically, is companies are spending billions of dollars to socially lubricate the workplace, putting in sleeping pods and massage tables. And every new age company is doing everything they can to make the workplace a social experience. So now, against that backdrop, how do both sexes behave? And it's going to take a few years to sort this out. It is very painful, and it's very painful for every woman who's had to endure anything.
It does.
We're going to be better on the other side.
The one thing I think everything that's happening needs to happen. I think the women finally need to be believed. Yes. I think the behavior needs to be shunned. What I am confused about is what to do and what will happen, and will it be fair? What is done with these apologies? When someone like Al Franken completely admits to it, where do we go from there? Mark Halperin admits to it, wants to go further, but there's nothing happening.
Yeah.
And I'm not siding on, and by the way, don't send me texts pillaging me for taking sides in any of these cases. I'm trying to have an honest conversation. And women, we need to step up. We are strong. We have voices. Let's use them fairly. There are men, there are predators who we have given a pass to, who we never should have. Whether it's for politics, for the good of whatever, we never should have, and we did. We are now not giving a pass anymore. But what about the men who are coming to the table and talking about what their behavior was about, why they did it, what the timing was, what the environment was, who the managers were, who enabled this behavior, who promoted them for it, who rewarded them for it? This is a conversation that some men are ready to have. Are we going to have it? I challenge us. Kasie Hunt, thank you very much. Coming up, the latest on the investigation into former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and his connections to Turkey. We'll tell you who's now cooperating with federal prosecutors. Morning Joe is coming right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.